In this live session, we're going to actually start working finally on the guts of our new app. How do we know what it is? How do we know what it's supposed to do? How do we know what we're supposed to work on? Let's make user stories. Hello, welcome to the Quality Coding live stream. My name is John Reed. I am a technical agile coach. I work with industrial logic, or I should say I work from industrial logic for companies around the world. I could work for your company. And what else? The United States. Hello, Harish. Welcome. The lone holdout. Good to have you. The United States just went through its spring time change. It's a little earlier. And so for folks in other places that either haven't shifted yet or don't shift, it's an hour earlier. And so probably not going to have that many folks. That's all right. That's why I also put all these into YouTube after the required 24 hours of delay to give Twitch full rights. And well, Harish, let's see if anyone else shows up, shall we? But I'm glad you're here. It makes me feel better. So I'm not talking to a completely empty room. I appreciate you. I'll start with some announcements. But let me say at the beginning, for those who are watching after the fact on YouTube, if you like the beginning, even a little bit, hey, give it a like. Announcements. Swiftcraft.uk is coming up, and I will be not just speaking there, I'll be teaching a full day workshop, and I want folks to know about this, especially folks in the UK and in Europe. Workshops will be on the 21st of May. If I scroll down here and see all these wonderful people, I know a fair number of them. If you find my name, this is kind of hard to see, isn't it? Sorry. There we go. How's that? Hey, Omar. A few more folks have joined. Welcome. Say hello in the chat. All right, I'll put this link in here. Hey, Dan. If you scroll down and you see this stuff about 3 full-day workshops from, hello, Unorthodox. And first-time chatter, Domash. Good to have you. Daniel Steinberg's going to be teaching. He's awesome. Paul Hudson's going to be doing. These are the full day workshops. Paul Hudson's going to be doing one. Awesome. I'll be doing one. Hopefully awesome. If you click there, you see what it is. The skills you need for TDD. My goal with this workshop is to break down TDD, kind of like any good coach will break down either musical skill or athletic skill into some component parts, the skills you need to have. It's one of the things it took me a long time to realize, why is TDD so hard for so many people? And it's because you need a number of skills to do TDD well. And so I'll introduce you. Of course, you won't become an expert in these skills in a single workshop, but I'll introduce you to the skills you need. And that'll take a full day, and that'll be a lot of fun. And then I'll be giving a talk. And the rest of the talks and other stuff will be awesome, I'm sure. So that is swiftcraft.uk. Come on in. Yeah, is there anything else I want to say here? My face. I've gotten a bit older since this headshot was taken. Hey, Grant. Something else I would just want to mention real quick is that for folks who signed up for the waitlist for my industrial iOS development workshop, I think you have till like another 12 plus maybe 14 hours or so to use the discount, the special super discounted discount that you got in email. I hope you can make it. All right. That's it on announcements. We are working on, not Get Inbox, we are working on Mastermind. Because so far, everything we've done, and I ended up renaming the earlier work into Xcode app setup, because it's like TDD in a Swift UI world, but we didn't even get to any coding. So it's like, I need to rebrand this. But that was interesting. And you can see from these stickies just how many things we had to do. And we did GitHub stuff. We did Xcode Cloud stuff. My bottom line for Xcode Cloud, easy, probably more expensive, less configurable. That's about it. Hello, Mateus. There is one more, before we start working on Mastermind, there is one more thing I remembered that I forgot to set up, and that is XcodeWarnings. This is a GitHub repo I have. If you don't use, I'll just stick it there. This is max out all the warnings, like turn them all up. At least all but just a couple that really don't work with Apple's libraries. So let's get this in here into our project. Here is the project. It's basically just the starter app with a few tweaks. Grant, I tried using View Inspector for unit testing Swift UI code, but got frustrated. That's interesting. I do plan to use View Inspector. So these days I write UI tests for the Swift UI stuff, putting all non-UI code into a framework target in the project and unit testing that. That approach will probably work for a lot of people. Thanks for sharing that, Grant. I intend, though, to stick with microtests. If need be, maybe we'll pry a UI test out of me. But as you can see, we rip them out and I don't intend to put them back. All right. Xcode warnings. Excuse me. Xcode warnings. I actually, it's my repo, so I've got it locally, and just make sure I'm up to date. Let me take this. there's only one file you need here, and that is the xconfig. So let me pull that over to, actually, let me go back to Mastermind, and I'll just copy it in. Copy. XcodeWarnings.xconfig into dot. Hello, first-time chatter, CodeSpace. Welcome. A few more people have joined. So I'm doing one more setup thing that I thought of before we start working on the app, and that is setting up XcodeWarnings. So there it is. It's there, but we need to hook it up now. Let me try to remember how to do that. Oh yeah, I need to drag it in. So we take the xconfig has to live inside of your project, your repo. It's not code per se, but it needs to live there. Let me stick it out here. And it doesn't go into any target. It just needs to live inside of. Oh, it's got a new icon there I haven't seen. There's gears. If you want to see what it is, it's a bunch of settings where basically I'm taking all the settings and turning them on. And there's one in particular I want to mention, and this is what brought this to mind. Swift strict concurrency. This is an important thing now, that we need to start to make our code work with isolated actors. This turns it on for you. If we look at, oh man, I wish there were a way to. I wish Xcode would actually make things big. When you say, I want my source editor to be big, it's like, can't they make everything else big? This is teeny tiny. But if we look at build settings and look for concurrency, the default setting is minimal, targeted, and complete. I'm not even sure what targeted means. Obviously, it's something in between. But we want to jack this up. And I want to start that way, especially with new code. I don't want to go through and write a bunch of stuff and then flip the switch and then get a bunch of errors about slapping me for how I'm using actors. Thank you, Mateus. I believe you can have a manual-only trigger. Select custom condition and don't start a build. Thank you. I'll look into that. I appreciate that. That was one of the things, was like, how do you have an Xcode Cloud workflow that is only triggered manually? And we were trying to found a workaround, but this sounds better. All right, so I want to turn this on, but don't turn it on. Here's what to do. We go into the project build settings and scroll down till we start to hit warnings. Where are they? Where are they? Somewhere. Soon. We're hitting language stuff, pre-processing, warnings. All right. Here's what I do. I select at the top here, scroll to the bottom. This is interesting. Where did this come from? I don't remember setting up this stuff. I'm going to leave that alone. Instead, I'm going to come down to here. And I did a shift click. Thanks, Grant, for sharing that important document about concurrency. So I did a shift click, so I now have everything in here selected. And what I'm going to do is hit delete to wipe out any overrides it had. I'm not even sure, did that change some things? Yes, it did. You can see it wiped out some settings that were on by default. I don't want them in the project file. I want them in the XConfig. So now, let's see if I can remember how to do this. It has been a while. Oh my goodness, it's been so long. I need to look at the README. Oh, I need to look at the blog post. Scroll down. When you reach the last one, shift click, press delete, do the same. Wait. Here. This is it. Okay, info. I need to go into info. All right, and this is at the project level. Project info, configurations. There we go. And I want to say for debug and release. Well, for everything inside of the project that is both the production code, Mastermind, and the test code, I want to use XcodeWarnings. And, I'll just go ahead and do that for release as well. Why not? So this is, I know it's tiny for anyone who's watching on their phone. Don't think I have a good way. I could use accessibility to zoom, but I think that might mess up OBS. So now in the info configurations, we have XcodeWarnings. Now if I look at the build settings, ooh, look, they've all become yes, 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 yes. And concurrency has become the complete, the highest setting. And this applies in both targets. All right. So that is what we wanted. Let me just do a quick build on its own to see if I get any warnings. Okay, good. I want to stay at 0 warnings. Let's check this in. My wife and I are watching Ted Lasso for the second time, and we just got to yes, chef. Yeah. The Swift version in Target doesn't seem to inherit from project. Let me get this change in first. Right here it is. Here are the changes wiping out the guts of any overrides. So I'll do this long way. This is an environment change. Add XcodeWarnings, and I'll push that. Let me check out. By the way, Cacao, Steve, thank you. Let's take a look at that. First time chatter, good to have you. And Omar points out that if you use multiple configuration files, you should have a base config, and that's where you do this. You say you set up several files, and in whatever you need to, you include one thing into another so that you build up the configurations you need from smaller files. It's a good way to work. All right, let's look. You said Swift version. Can't. It's not obviously, it's not version. Is it language version? Hang on. Dark bold in the target. Swift 5. You're right. It's different. It's overridden in both of those. This is from their template. Oh, man. Okay. I don't think I'm going to go into this, but let's do this one. This is a good example of, I mean, why did Apple do this? This is from the template. The project should specify what version of Swift to use, and the things that are in bold are overrides. So really, we should say use Swift 5, and then delete this so now it's not bold. Like that. And there are probably some other settings, but that's a good one, right? It's good to have stuff in your project settings or in XConfigs. And when you're working on a complex project, large thing, it's probably better to avoid project settings and just move stuff into XConfigs and other external definitions. Toist is a great tool. All right, let's get that in. Let me just do a build just to check. Yeah, that's a good call. Thanks, Cucko. Steve. I'm going to call you Steve. This is an environment change. Set Swift version at project level. Thank you. All right. Okay. What you came here for. Let's start working on Mastermind. To do that, here's my plan. I actually, now that we can run iOS apps, I don't know how many iOS and iPad apps you have running on your Apple Silicon machine, your M1s and so on. It's something we can do now, and it might be handy for some games. It's kind of clunky sometimes, of course, but it let me download somebody else's Mastermind game, and I'm just going to copy them to the best of my ability. Of course. Fair warning, I will not be publishing this to the store. Don't rip people off. But let's start making user stories based on what we see. And there is a format to user stories that I want to follow that I learned at Industrial Logic. We have e-learning. A number of different things, and one of those is composing user stories is one of the albums, we call them. And inside of, so you're getting a peek at some proprietary stuff. Sorry, IIL, I hope you don't mind. This is part of a whole course on making user stories written by Bill Wake, who is a Twitcher. He's an extraordinary person who's contributed probably. I didn't realize he had influenced me in so many ways without knowing that it was him. Here's one. A user story should have a heading and some details and should be super simple. By the way, why am I talking about user stories? Isn't this what is done for you? Aren't you just assigned a bunch of tickets? Let's stop working that way, folks. That is a waste. In terms of lean identifies seven categories of waste. And one of those is wasting people's minds by not using them. We should be involved. We developers should be involved in the definition of the user stories, working together with product, with UX, with other folks to create them together. This is super important, especially when it comes to what's a high level thing versus what's a detail thing. What is something that we would push back on and say, that's not going to work so great in mobile, or that's not going to work so great in iOS. We ought to be having those conversations together as a team, everyone contributing their expertise. And as developers, we bring our own expertise. So I recognize that for a lot of developers, and this was certainly true for me, I've been worked in the corporate world for a very long time, that you basically, here's your job and you do what you're told. Bullshit. Let's stop that. That's a waste of resources. That's a waste of our talents. Let's work together and minimize feedback loops. So this is a great format for user story headings. You'll notice it is not as a user, the Connextra style. This is one I've learned at Industrial Logic. Role action context. Who's triggering the system? What's the role? What's the action? And what extra context do you need? Maybe you may not even need extra context, but a lot of times you do. The action is the stimulus. So there's the actor, the stimulus, and any extra bits of information. With that, let's start gathering some stuff. And to do that, let's work in a new space. We're not going to be in the discovery tree. We want to gather stuff. You know what? You come over here. And let's just start. And I'm just going to start making a bunch of notes. Let's see. So one thing we have already just from launching is that apparently this works with the game system. What's that called? Game Center? Normally I make a product backlog item and put in something like Bluetooth controller or match Android behavior, and it's never enough for them. This is another thing, is that a user story is a placeholder for a conversation. It is not a specification. We want them to be light. We want them to be just enough for the people who are involved to talk about it and agree together and say, how are we doing this? Okay, then do it. So log into Game Center. Who triggers this? It's not the user. It's the system that triggered this. So I'm gonna say the actor is the system. There we go. That's enough to go on. Is that something we want to do for MVP? For the minimal viable product? I doubt it. But let's put it down. All right. What else do we see here? Oh, we got ads. Oh, there's a thing that when that happens, it shows the sign in. That's probably Apple doing that for us. So we got ads. Gross. Well, not necessarily gross. If you're making a free app, that might be fine. Where'd my cursor go? Like it disappeared when I interacted over here. So let's just make some more. System shows ads. Where are they from? Don't know. Am I going to do this? Don't know. We're just gathering stuff right now. There is a number of things. Let's take a look at settings. All right. So here are some settings, and rather than the user story being like settings menu, that's a detail. I don't think that captures the essence of the story. The essence of the story is that user is not a great word. Player? User is too generic. You can have different types of users on a single app, right? So I kind of want player can choose language. Okay, that's another. Same color. Okay, let's back up and let me show Mastermind. Actually, let's play a game. It's probably the easiest way to show you. Let's play. Mastermind. You may remember this from growing up with a physical Mastermind thing as a kid. This is a game where there is a code maker and a code breaker, normally two humans. The code maker selects, from a bunch of colored pegs, says, okay, I'm going to make a secret code. It is in, this color, this color, this color, this color in order. That's the code maker's job, part of the code maker's job. The code breaker then makes a guess and says, well, I don't know. I'm going to just click some things and play poorly. Oh, a timer has gone off. Oh, that's interesting. All right. So it looks, there are a few things in here that are interesting. We'll come back to it. I just want to demonstrate the game real quick. This is the first guess. We can have up to 10 guesses. And now I'm ready to check. And these colors are different than I expected. And traditionally, there's a red peg for you got one thing in the right position, and white pegs for you got the right color, it's in the wrong position. So it looks like I have 3 correct things right off the bat. Hey, want to finish this? Which one of these is in the correct position? Which one is incorrect? I don't know. Let's let's say orange, green, yellow, and brown. Oh, no. All right, I think black. No, that's if we're guessing that these are probably the three that are correct. Oh, you had black and white pigs. Interesting. All right, let's try again. Let's say it's not orange. It's maybe green was in the right place. So how about green, yellow, green, orange, blue? Oh, I suck. No, it's offering hints. What does this do? This is some advanced stuff. All right. I'm not sure what this means, but brown and black are probably in there. Let's see. Maybe I mean, I'm surprised. Maybe the black was correct. Right? Brown and black. Oh, I really suck at this game. Is this system offers hints? To show hints. More importantly, and more fundamentally, the player selects colors to construct guess. Nah. See, the nice thing about a header is we don't need a full spec if we build a common understanding. That is if you can get by. If you need a spec, I wouldn't even write a spec. I would create another part of the mural and say, let's expand on this and maybe put some pictures in, right? Tell a story, not have a textual thing in Jira. Blah. All right, let's take Mudshark's guess here. Brown, black, yellow, orange. Brown, black, yellow, orange. Oi, all four. Okay, we got the four correct. Pressure's on. Which one of them is in the same position? Or from down here, or it might have been in a correct position. The black, possibly. Definitely the black. Okay. Thank you, Dan. Yellow, orange, brown, black. Winner! Oh, and this is an interesting thing. Congratulations, you guessed the combination. Let's... Hang on. Come back. Come back. Where'd it go? Oh, I do not want it to use the microphone. Why the heck would it want the microphone? That's gross. Look at this. NS microphone usage description should be set to valid usage description. How did this get by Apple? Ugh. Um, yeah, there's some interesting things about this, and you know, it's just easier. I just said about capturing images. Mm, let's just capture this, and I'll stick it in. This. Oops. Right, there's a valuable artifact. So there's no time limit, but there is a number of plays. We could find out what happens when we get it wrong. Wait, we're already at this time. Let's try to get the essence of this game as well as some details. So if because a lot of this stuff just seems like it's below the line. Yeah, how does it calculate the points? I don't know. But I want to draw a line. And make it nice and thick. And let's say, what things are below the line? That is, things that are not essential. Logging into the game center is not essential. System showing ads is not essential. Player can choose language. I guess language is, we need that for anything, any text. That is a little more essential, but system offers to show hints. Player constructs guess is absolutely essential. So that goes above the line. And I was going to start making another one. You construct the guess and you submit the guess. Oh, there's new game. Player starts game, right? Player starts game. Player constructs guess. And I want to separate constructing from submitting. This is the kind of thing where system generates code. Thank you. Right? We're starting to get them in order. And here, I'm going to make it, instead of just system, I want the role to be a little more specific here. Yes, it is. So these are related, but the player initiates it and then the code maker does that. So I'm not quite sure. I think these are two different stories. Even though, let's tell a story in a sequence here. Like I'm using the word story sloppily here. I want to arrange these stories so that they tell a larger story. Player starts the game. Codemaker generates the code. Player constructs guess. There is a system starts. This is starting to get sloppy, and this is why story mapping was invented, so that you could start to keep things together and in columns as far as telling a story. And maybe that's where this needs to go, in columns. Yeah. Code breaker. constructs guess. I like it. Code breaker submits guess. So I wasn't planning to talk about story mapping, but we're getting there anyway, by building this sort of left to right thing and a top to bottom thing, a grid where it's like, what happens here? And we move left to right. Player can check score. I'm going to put that down here because the idea of scoring, can you check the score? I don't think you can check the score, but it does record the score. So system scores game, I think, is part of that. Player gets feedback on guess. Yes. But that's passive. One of the things that I really had to learn, well, I do this blogging, but and blogging was a helpful introduction to me writing a book, was avoiding passive voice. So it's not player gets, it's that the code maker we don't really know what the points are. Grades guess. Code maker. Wonder what these are called. These feedback pins. Maybe we can find out real quick. Shows hint. That's would normally good, except normally be nice, except that we all have another idea of a hint. Key pegs. They're code pegs and key pegs. Red and black. So it's the answer key. Applies with answer key or something like that. I'm not quite sure. Let's move this line down. And there are a couple things in here. So I'm going to code maker shows, I'll just shows is weak. Correct color in correct position. Correct colors in correct positions. That's one thing. Let's move these down a little bit more. And another part of that is shows correct colors in incorrect positions. Now, one more thing about the settings that is interesting is there are a number of different ways to construct this code. Let's go to the settings. Here, one of the options is, do we allow the same color? The option allows more pieces of the same color in a combination. For example, 2 red. Right now, they're strictly shuffled. Hey, that's nice. It went back. Play went back to the same game. I want to keep that in mind. So I'm going to put down below the line that the player and accessibility, yep, player can again where is it? Player can choose language. I'm going to keep these settings things close together. And again, this is the kind of thing you can't really do with Jira. Is like say, well, let's move these together. Player can choose language. Player can select difficulty. And there are two types of things around difficulty. One is player can repeating colors, and the other is how many slots are there, I think. There's a level. Let's call these. There's a bug in the 6th position. Oh, really? We found a bug. Very nice. We're going to run out of time, but let's use the rest of our time getting this. And there's going to be a lot of stuff down here that it's just like later, not now. And that's the kind of thing that you want to talk about together. Product shouldn't be the only one making this call. It's particularly important for a developer to say whether something is easy or hard. Not later on when we're talking about stories and then estimating them and saying, wow, oh shoot, that's really hard. Well, it's kind of, in a normal corporate situation, it's kind of too late because the powers have decided to fund money into something and they've already decided what that thing is. No, we should say, oh, this would be really easy to do, or wow, this is going to be really complicated to do, and decide much earlier whether or not to even do it or not in the first version. There are up to 10 rounds. So we need to have winning and losing. Yeah. Let's have these discussions with the business. One of the basic ideas of extreme programming was that business and dev, the business and the makers should work together. It's that simple. That is so much of agility is tied up in that. All right, I'm going to put down just real quick so I don't lose it. And we'll refine these. Let's talk about losing first. System, it really is kind of the system. There's the code. It's not the code maker and the code breaker. There's more like an arbitrator. If you imagine this being between two people, both of them know if you fail after 10, that's the end. That's system announces loss after 10 failed rounds, something like that. How about that? System announces. Is there announce, or are the pegs going to be enough? Even the announcing, I feel like, is something that comes below another line in terms of MVP. I did get an alert. So let's keep it in there for now. Yeah. Win. For all correct. When there. How's that? There's a lot more. Quite a bit more. But let's go back to the settings and see if there's anything. Oops, I hit new game. Player can select difficulty. Player can choose. Select can allow repeating colors, because just because you allow it doesn't mean there will be repeating colors. Player can select difficulty in level. The number of the number of colors. That is, I hadn't thought of that. It's not just the number of pigs. Ooh, you can have empty holes? Color blindness for accessibility. It does seem to be 4 pigs. That's interesting. I kind of expected that there would be like, you know, some crazy hard thing. Let's just put that idea. Number of pegs, number of slots, number of length of code. How about that? I don't think that game did it, but I just want to put it in there. Code length. You can see there's a this is kind of like naming. Naming variables and methods, in that we come up with something and we refine it, refine it. And this is where it's really good to work together. We are working together. And to try to get something that is really concise. Player choose language does iOS, because in the iOS settings, the language can be selected per app. Yeah. There are things about this Mastermind app that feel non-native to me. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Let's see. Oh, here. Look at this animation. It might not be obvious to you on the stream, but it feels like it's going, the animation is going joke, 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 rather than a nice smooth thing. And that tells me this, and that and some of the other things, it just doesn't feel native to me. This feels like somebody's, well, not, I mean, somebody's cross-platform thing that they're going to blast out on every conceivable handheld device. So there are, player can allow empty holes. So it's like empty is a color. That is below the line. All right, what have we got above the line? And let's try to wrap up our time together. Player starts the game. Player starts new game. I don't want to say. When that happens, the code maker generates a code. The code breaker constructs the guess and submits it. The code maker replies with the answer key, and there are, notice here, no, we didn't add accessibility. Let's put that in. Player can use symbols instead of colors. So can choose for accessibility. Clear the board when creating a new name. Yep. A new game. That's kind of in there. Thank you. So I don't know, Rick, whether we're going to do this from like how is this going to work? Because what we want to capture in the stories is not a lot of details of how exactly, at least not at first. Instead, it's like, what is the overall goal? And this, I think we've captured the essence. I also want to consider, ooh, what is that? What happens when, let's just take a look. Let's say, so we've got new game. And I said new game. Ooh. Kind of a nice animation. But it didn't ask. That's not good. That's the kind of thing that really needs an alert, a confirmation alert. Do you want to? So yeah, as far as how we're going to construct this in Swift UI, you know, will we have a menu like this? Maybe. Stats is kind of neat. Stats can be like apart from well, let's player system moves to next guess. Kind of. System is it is the system does, oops, that's here's our app. There is an indicator of which round you're in. And that is sort of the system thing. System shows there it's like which round. System shows round. System advances to the next round. How about that? Right, and we have kind of a loop here. Need a shape. Need a shape. I need a pen. Oh, I need a thicker pen than that. Right? This is a loop. Let me try that again. Oh, except the system, yeah, it's good enough. It's good enough. System displays previous guesses. That is important. But it might be implicit in the nature of the board. Anyway, I've gone beyond time. I hope this gives a picture of what it is, what it's like to construct user stories and how to do it collaboratively, and how to evaluate what is essential. Like, what is the heart of the game versus and sorry, accessibility. I'm sorry, that's going to come next, but that's important. Let's make that like more important than showing ads. Well, yes, let's make it more important than showing ads. Or anything like that. Let's make it more important than selecting the level. All right. Whoops. There it is. So there we have it. I hope that was fun. It helps lay the groundwork for where we want to start next time. And yeah, there's some open questions. There are a lot of open questions. That is the nature of development, and that is where we'll start building our discovery tree as we go. Start coding. I do intend to do this from a UI-centric perspective. That is, instead of building up a model first and getting Mastermind to work in a how I normally do things is like I pretend that there's a command line app, and then the UI sort of comes at the end. I want to flip that for the sake of how Swift UI folks I've learned. A lot of folks don't like to operate the other way. They like to code up some UI first and work backwards to discover the model. So that's the plan. All right. Hey, thanks for coming. We'll come back next time and we'll finish that off. For folks who have watched this on YouTube, my goodness, if you've watched this far, you've been very patient, and definitely subscribe then, so you don't you get the next ones as they come out. But also come on into the Twitch. You see how interactive it is, how fun, how helpful it is, that I'm not just out in space by myself, but that in, less ideal than verbally, but through the chat, we can actually work together to build something. All right. Hopefully code next time. Thanks very much for coming, and I'll see you next week. Again, at the earlier hour. Take care.